You're not imagining it. And that's the uncomfortable part because if you're here, it's usually not because nothing is happening. It's because something is happening, but it's never clear enough to trust. You replay conversations. You remember moments that felt different. You wonder if you misread it or worse, if you were supposed to notice something you didn't. And here's the truth. Most men never hear explained correctly. When a woman likes you and is trying not to show it, the confusion you feel isn't accidental. It's psychological tension, and your nervous system can sense it before your mind can explain it. Men who are observant, not reactive, usually feel this first. They don't chase immediately. They don't assume. They notice patterns. And if you're one of those men, you've probably asked yourself a quiet question you never say out loud. If she doesn't like me, why does it feel like she does? This video is not about mind games. It's not about manipulation, and it's definitely not about playing hard to get. There are legitimate, emotionally intelligent reasons a woman might suppress attraction, especially when the risk feels real. Mutual friends, a friendship she doesn't want to lose, a workplace dynamic that complicates everything, or the simplest, most human reason of all. She doesn't know how you feel and doesn't want to be exposed. That hesitation changes behavior, not attraction. And here's what most people miss. Even when someone is actively trying to control their emotions, the body leaks the truth, subtly, quietly, consistently. And once you learn to see those leaks, the confusion disappears, not because you suddenly become bold or aggressive, but because you stop guessing. Before we go any further, understand this. If you've missed signs before, it doesn't mean you're clueless. It means you were never taught what to look for. Once you see it, you don't unsee it. Let's start with the first. Signal. And it's almost invisible unless you know why it matters. Sign number one, her feet tell you what her mouth won't. This sounds small, almost stupid, until you understand the psychology behind it. The body always orients toward what the mind wants. When someone wants to leave a conversation, their feet drift toward the exit. When someone is waiting for food, their body leans toward the table. And when someone is emotionally focused on a person, their feet point there, even when their eyes don't. This is not conscious behavior. She's not deciding to do this. Her nervous system is. So if she's talking to someone else, laughing, engaging, but one foot keeps angling toward you, that's attention leakage. If she's seated and her crossed leg points in your direction, same signal. It's subtle, and that's why it's honest. People who are trying to hide attraction focus on controlling their face, their tone, their words. They forget about their feet. Once you notice this, you'll start seeing it everywhere, including in yourself. And when you do, something shifts because now you're no longer wondering if she notices you. But don't act yet because the next sign goes deeper and it's where emotional intent starts to reveal itself. Sign number two, she creates similarity on purpose even when she pretends it's casual. Pay close attention to this. A woman who isn't interested will keep things neutral, polite, surface level. A woman who is interested but cautious does something very different. She builds psychological bridges. She points out similarities, not dramatically, not flirtatiously, almost accidentally. We're kind of the same in that way. That's funny. I like that too. We actually have a lot in common. On the surface, it sounds harmless, but underneath something else is happening. Similarity creates safety. Safety allows attraction to exist without exposure. When she highlights shared tastes, values, humor, or habits, she's subconsciously asking, if I let myself like you, would that make sense? This is not about convincing you. It's about justifying her feelings to herself. And here's the detail most men miss. She's watching how you respond. Not to the words, but to the connection. Do you dismiss it? Do you downplay it? Do you stay grounded? Men who notice patterns instead of chasing validation usually pass this test without knowing they're being tested. But we're not done because the next sign is where attraction stops being abstract and starts becoming physical, even when it's trying not to. And that's where most men either misread everything or finally understand what's really going on. Sign number three, she touches you when there is no logical reason to let's slow this down. Human beings do not casually cross physical boundaries without emotional permission, especially women who are cautious, emotionally aware, or socially intelligent. So when she touches you without necessity, something is already happening internally. Not dramatic touches, not overt flirting, small ones, a hand on your arm when she laughs, a playful push, sitting closer than she needs to, brushing past you when there's space to walk around. Each moment alone feels meaningless. Together, they form a pattern. Touch is not about boldness. It's about reassurance. When a woman likes you but is trying to suppress it, touch becomes a pressure release valve. Her emotions need somewhere to go. And here's the part most men misunderstand and where mistakes happen. Touch alone is not permission, it's information. Men who rush this signal usually do so because they want certainty immediately. Men who stay calm and observant let the pattern continue to reveal itself. And if you've ever thought, she touches me but then pulls back, that's not rejection. That's emotional conflict. Attraction pulling one direction, self control pulling the other. Hold that thought because the next sign exposes what she feels when she forgets to filter herself. Sign number 4, she laughs at you more than the joke deserves. This one isn't about humor, it's about emotional bias. Research has shown this repeatedly, but you don't need a study to see it. You felt it before. When someone likes you, your words land differently. Even mediocre jokes feel warm. Even awkward comments feel endearing. So if she laughs genuinely at things that clearly weren't that funny, she's not reacting to the joke. She's reacting to you. This is especially revealing when the laugh is automatic, quick, unfiltered, almost like she surprised herself. And here's a subtle psychological detail most people never consider. When a woman is trying not to show attraction, laughter becomes a leak because it's socially acceptable. She can laugh and still tell herself she's just being friendly, but her nervous system knows the difference. If you've ever noticed her laughing and then immediately calming herself down, that pause is awareness. She noticed she revealed too much, which leads directly into the next sign, the one that makes many men freeze because it feels intense even when nothing is said. Sign Sir 5, prolonged eye contact that doesn't break naturally. This is not about glancing. This is about holding. Eye contact is exposure. It's vulnerability. People who don't want connection avoid it. People who want connection but fear it hover right at the edge. She looks at you, you look back, and instead of breaking immediately, it lingers just long enough to feel something. This is not accidental. In her mind, this is communication. She's thinking, if I look long enough, he'll know. What she doesn't realize is that most men were never taught this language. So if you've ever felt that strange, silent intensity, like something passed between you without words, that was it. And sometimes it's too much, which is why the very next thing she does is one of the clearest tells of all. Sign number 6, the chin tuck. The moment she gives herself away, this happens fast, almost imperceptible. Eye contact, then the chin drops. She looks down, breaks eye contact, maybe smiles slightly, maybe exhales. This is not shyness. This is a physiological response to emotional exposure. Her body just registered attraction, butterflies, awareness, self-consciousness, and she's pulling back before she reveals more. Women don't think about this, they feel it. Men who are emotionally perceptive often recognize this without knowing why it matters. They just feel the shift. And if you've ever noticed that moment and thought something just changed, you were right, but we're not done yet. Because all of these signs can exist and still mean nothing unless the final one is present. And this last signal answers the question men are usually too afraid to ask directly. This is where everything either becomes clear or stays confusing forever. Because the final sign isn't about body language, humor, or accidental touch. It's about priority, and priority is never faked for long. Sign number 7, her attention collapses on you. Watch what happens when you enter the room. Not dramatically, not instantly, just subtly. Her phone becomes less interesting. Conversations slow down and her awareness shifts. This isn't obsession, it's focus. When a woman is emotionally neutral, her attention is distributed evenly. Friends, environment, distractions, phone, when attraction is present, even suppressed, attention narrows. If you're speaking and she isn't checking her phone, if she remembers small things you said earlier, if she stays mentally present instead of scanning the room, that's not politeness, that's investment. And here's the part that reframes everything you've just learned. A woman who doesn't want you to misread her will create distance. A woman who likes you but is unsure will create proximity without clarity. That's the tension you feel. That's the reason you question yourself. And now comes the perspective shift most men never hear. The one that changes how you move from this point forward. The real reason this confuses you, you were taught to look for certainty, clear signals, direct interest, obvious intent. But emotionally intelligent attraction, especially restrained attraction, doesn't announce itself. It leaks through the body through attention, through behavior that contradicts words, and men who are calm, grounded, and self-contained tend to receive this kind of attraction more than they realize because they feel safe. Safe enough to like, not safe enough to risk exposure. That's why this dynamic shows up. Around coworkers, friends, social circles. It's not avoidance, it's risk management. And if you've ever blamed yourself for not acting sooner, not seeing it faster, not making a move, understand this. You weren't weak. You were operating without the full map. What changes once you see this? You stop chasing clarity from her. You stop forcing conversations to figure it out. You stop needing to prove anything. Men who understand these patterns don't rush. They observe. They stay grounded. They let consistency reveal intent. Because here's the quiet truth. If attraction is real, it sustains itself. And when you stop reacting emotionally to every signal, when you stop trying to decode in real time, your presence alone becomes the test. Some connections deepen, some resolve themselves, some fade, but you no longer walk away confused, you walk away clear. This isn't about control over her. It's about control over your perception. And once you have that, you move differently. You speak less. You notice more. You don't chase signals. You recognize patterns. That's the shift. And once it happens, you don't go back. You simply see. There's one final layer most people never reach. Because everything you've heard so far explains her behavior. But the real transformation happens when you understand what this requires of you. Not action, not strategy, not a move, restraint. Men who stay silent at the right moments aren't passive. They're regulated. They don't rush to relieve uncertainty. They don't demand clarity to soothe anxiety. They don't force emotional outcomes. They let reality surface on its own. And here's the uncomfortable realization that changes how you see past situations. Sometimes she wasn't hiding attraction from you, she was hiding it from herself because attraction creates obligation. It forces decisions. It collapses safe ambiguity. So she stayed half visible, half invested, close enough to feel something, far enough to stay protected. And if you've ever felt like you were standing right at the edge of something that never crossed the line, that wasn't failure. That was containment. Why you felt stuck and why you won't anymore. Most men get trapped here because they think the solution is escalation, more flirting, more confidence, more pressure. But pressure doesn't resolve internal conflict. It exposes it. Men who push in these moments often don't get rejected. They get reframed. She's nice, but he misread things. I just wasn't feeling it. Not because attraction wasn't there, but because timing and emotional safety were violated. Men who understand this don't feel the need to prove awareness. They let her awareness catch up, and that changes everything. The identity shift. This is where the internal upgrade happens. You stop being the man who wonders, did she like me? And become the man who knows if attraction exists. It reveals itself over time. You stop reacting to moments and start tracking consistency. You stop seeking reassurance and start trusting observation. You no longer confuse intensity with truth because truth is quieter than chemistry, but far more stable. A final reframe to carry with you. Attraction that must be hidden is still attraction. But attraction that never resolves isn't something you chase. It's something you outgrow. Men who understand this don't become colder. They become clearer. They don't explain themselves. They don't overinterpret. They don't cling to ambiguity. They move forward calmly whether someone follows or not. And once you see behavior for what it is, confusion stops being personal. It becomes informationational. That's the difference between reacting emotionally and moving with quiet power. Once you understand this, you don't just notice attraction. You decide what to do with it. And that's where control actually begins. There's a moment that moment happens quietly. It's almost invisibly. When this finally clicks, you stop scanning for signs, you stop replaying interactions, you stop asking yourself what she meant because your attention shifts inward, not in insecurity, but in authority. And that's the part no one ever explains. When confusion disappears, most men think clarity comes from answers. It doesn't. It comes from standards. When you understand how restrained attraction behaves, you stop personalizing ambiguity. You no longer see mixed signals, as puzzles to solve. You see them as information about readiness, safety, and emotional alignment. And here's the quiet realization that separates men who stay stuck from men who move forward. Someone can like you and still not be able to meet you. Attraction is not availability. Interest is not intention. And chemistry does not equal courage. Once you truly accept that something powerful happens, you stop waiting. The shift that changes how you show up. Men who internalize this don't become detached. They become self-directed. They don't need to confront. They don't need to demand clarity. They don't need to shoot their shot just to relieve uncertainty. They simply observe. Does her behavior move closer over time or stay suspended? Does tension resolve or recycle? Does interest mature or remain safely contained? And if it stays contained, they don't resent it. They release it. Not emotionally, mentally, that's control. Why this makes you different from most men. Most men are trained to react to attraction. You're learning to evaluate it. Most men chase intensity. You're learning to respect consistency. Most men confuse attention with connection. You now understand the difference. This doesn't make you colder. It makes you selective. And selectivity is not arrogance. It's clarity earned through awareness. The final identity lock-in. From this point forward, you're no longer the man who wonders what was real. You're the man who recognizes patterns without attaching his worth to them. You don't rush moments. You don't force outcomes. You don't linger in emotional fog. You let people reveal where they stand, and you move accordingly, quietly, decisively, without explanation. And once you operate from this place, something subtle but permanent happens. You stop chasing attraction. Attraction either meets you or it doesn't. Either way, you're steady. That's not detachment. That's grounded presence. And once you have that, you don't just understand psychology. All